She miscarried. She was horrified. She said, look, this might be the only time I can get pregnant. I am permanently traumatized by this. It's true. In reality, this guy should at the very least be imprisoned for life and probably should be executed by the state for what he did, because he a little baby.
Don't you agree with that? All these free principles of just watching whatever you want? She said, no, because I'm not a liberal. I'm a feminist. I'm not a liberal. And I thought, oh, I guess maybe I'm a feminist too. Who knew?
Yeah.
I knew, and people who watch this channel knew. This man is going to jail for 12 years for slipping a chemical abortion pill into a woman's drink, her baby at 15 weeks. Michael Knowles replies, he should rot in prison for life at least. Top commenter states, but if a woman kills the kid, then no consequences for her, Michael? This is what we're going to be breaking down. Let's get into it. Now, as a disclaimer, I have to say, I really do like Michael Knowles. I think he's a great advocate for today's political landscape that we currently live in. 100%, especially when it comes to abortion. However, one thing that I've noticed is that when these lefties ask these political pundits like Michael Knowles, since you believe abortion is murder, therefore, are you willing to criminalize women? They always say, no, that's not what I'm saying. However, if you're going to be consistent about things, then theoretically, you would advocate for putting the book down on these women that choose to abort their babies, which you say is murder. And I believe, me personally, it is murder. And it happens 1 million times every year that abortions are performed. So, by that logic, you would say, hey, Michael Knowles, if you're going to say one thing about one person, then obviously you're going to have to say to the same degree on the other side of that abortion spectrum, right? So this is Michael Knowles explaining the story.
A man has just been sentenced to jail for 12 years for slipping a woman an abortion pill in her drink. You know, the woman gets up to use the bathroom. The man slips, not a Mickey, not a roofie. He slips an abortion pill to kill her child. This woman was 15 weeks pregnant. If you've ever been pregnant, or if your wife's ever been pregnant, you know, 15 weeks, this is a baby. This is a pretty big baby. This baby's moving around. This baby is totally recognizable as a baby. You are on the way. 5 more weeks, the baby can survive in some cases outside the womb. Abortion is wrong at all stages, but it's viscerally, knowably wrong at 15 weeks. This guy slips her an abortion pill. She starts to bleed. She then, the baby is murdered by the pill, and then this man is brought up on charges. Stuart Warby, 40 years old. He apparently also gave her a bunch of other abortion tablets to try to make sure that this would work. Now, the woman has lifelong anonymity because she's the victim of a sexual offense, but she miscarried. She was horrified. She said, look, this might be the only time I can get pregnant. I am permanently traumatized by this. It's true. In reality, this guy should at the very least be imprisoned for life and probably should be executed by the state for what he did, because he murdered a little baby. He jeopardized a woman's life. He murdered a woman's child, also happened to be his child, and forget whose child it is, he murdered a little innocent baby. This guy, at the very least, should be imprisoned for life without parole, and more likely should be executed by the state for what he did. If that kind of a crime does not merit the death penalty, I don't know what does.
Pardon the interruption. Today's video is sponsored by the amazing audience that fund this channel. Live shows and interviews.
Did not have great expectations that Trump was going to shake the entire system down to the ground. The whole goal of sending Trump in there was to basically f as much up as he possibly could.
Debates.
There's power on earth which is given via divine command if you take your head as a Christian in a patriarchy. That's why they do it.
The Bible, yes, it does say that women will submit to men and does put women in a role where they are beneath men in society.
Reviews on culture war as well as political analysis. That can also lead up to saying that if you say that the Jews Jesus, that could also be claimed as anti-Semitic and more. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join our Discord for more engagement with the host as well as other like-minded individuals. Thank you. Now back to the video. Okay, so just to give some more clarification on the story, this occurred back in 2022. He was recently sentenced to 12 years now in 2024. Now, back in 2022 is when the lockdowns were still occurring over there in London. And during that time, women were still able to get the abortion pill through the mail. Yeah, that's right. We were all in lockdowns. But guess what? Women were still able to get those abortion pills if needed, right? So what this individual did is he got a woman by the name of Nuziza Capera. I think I'm butchering her first name, but regardless of that, what had happened was he actually got this woman to order abortion pills through the mail, and then she gave them to Warby, who later used those abortion pills on this woman in her orange juice. Now, I'm not too sure what the motivation was. This article doesn't necessarily explain it. However, this led to an uprise of abortion rights advocates by the name of Right to Life in the UK. She right here is the spokesperson of said right-wing advocate for abortion to be banned, right? But she goes on to say, don't punish women. Now, this is the same problem that we see with Michael Knowles, who is more than willing to put these men into the electric chair for killing a baby, but yet 1 million women per year put hits on their babies in the womb, which would correlate with first-degree murder, of course, because there's intent. You intended to kill the baby within the womb, you hired a hitman, which is the doctor, and thus you got the job done. So Michael will never say, hey, you know what? We should punish the woman for killing babies. But when the man slips in an abortion pill, which, by the way, I don't advocate for, this man should be thrown in jail for life, or perhaps even executed, whatever the case is, whatever the judge finds to be the correct punishment. But then at the same time, simultaneously, you're saying, you know what? Let's not even talk about even punishing the woman for their bad behavior of murdering little babies. That's insane to me. But this advocate group that is anti-abortion says, don't punish women. They go on to say, quote, making abortion harder to access would give the defendant and men like Warby more power and control over the most vulnerable women. Women should not be punished for their actions of abusive men. So even these abortion advocates will never blame the woman, all right, for aborting their babies. They're saying, oh, they're being manipulated. You know, they do not know what they are doing, right? And to a degree, there's an argument for that. I totally understand that. However, look at the actions of what they do here. It's always the man's fault. The abusive men in this society. This is why we need to get rid of, which they're advocating to get rid of abortion pills through the mail, so that sick, abusive men cannot get access to it, when in reality, it was a woman that actually ordered these pills through the mail and gave it to this individual, which, by the way, she got 2 years, actually less than 2 years in jail compared to the man who got 12 years, right? Isn't that crazy? So again, in our society, we don't punish women the same way as we would men. And we even look at them as if they're just people that got manipulated. That's the problem. This is why people like Michael Knowles are more than willing to kiss the ass cheeks of these feminists that go out there and say, I know better than these men about Christianity. I know better than these men who want to control our bodies, which is, of course, not the case. This is why they go around saying that there is no law that can govern a man's body, which is, of course, a stupid argument. But like I said, people like Michael Knowles have proven time and time again he's willing to kiss the ass cheeks of these feminists. And even the anti-abortion advocacies will also place the blame on men, like these are abusive men, when in reality, it was a woman that actually was able to get a hold of those abortion pills and give them to Warby, right? So that's just a part of the story that Michael Knowles will not tell you about, right? So let's go on with our reaction on Michael here.
The only punishment that doesn't make any sense is 12 years in prison. What is 12 years in prison? If the baby had been born and he walked up and took a sledgehammer and smushed the baby, Would he be given 12 years in prison? No, he'd be given life in prison or executed.
That's a good point.
Or if it wasn't really a baby, if he just walked up to a clump of cells, like a mass of, I don't know, an amoeba or something, and smashed that with a sledgehammer, he would be given no prison time. But what is 12 years? 12 years sentence for this crime is a perfect representation of our total incoherence on this issue. We can't resolve, as in our civilization, whether we want to protect babies or not. We don't want to answer that question. So we split the baby. Louis C.K. made this point. He goes, I think that abortion, look, it's a woman's choice. It's woman's health care. It's like sitting down and using the toilet. Okay, it's just a bodily function. It has no moral significance. Or it's murder. But those are the only two things. It can't be some moderate crime. It's either nothing or it's infanticide. But I don't even understand what the argument would be that it's just this kind of moderate crime and you get, 12-year sentence, but you only serve 5 and then you get probation for this. This isn't insider trading. It's either murdering a baby or it's nothing. But they can't resolve it, so they give the actual worst sentence, which is a handful of years in prison. Okay. All right, that guy, he's lucky. He got off the hook for murdering a kid and killing a woman's kid and endangering her health.
1 million women per year don't get any prison time, Michael. They get no prison time, actually. 1 million abortions a year, putting a hit on the baby in the womb by women, not a single minute in jail. And Michael's right. It's either murder or it's not. People want to thrive the line of, if it's a clump of cells, therefore it's not murder, right? And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then if there is a woman that is pregnant, let's say she's a couple weeks pregnant or a month pregnant, whatever, 3 months, whatever. It's just a clump of cells. If a man goes over there and punches this woman right in the fucking stomach and she has a miscarriage from that, therefore he shouldn't be charged with murdering a baby. He should only be charged with assault, even though he caused a miscarriage. However, if that woman said that she wanted to give birth to that baby, therefore the left will say, okay, therefore it is a life because the woman chose it to be a life. Therefore, now we can probably punish the man for murder as well as assault. So you can't have it both ways. So Michael is correct on this. It's either murder, or it's not. The problem here, Michael, is that he will not, in no way, shape, or form, apply that same logic to the woman. And this is the problem that a lot of people have, where they call Michael out on these things. And Michael, it's crickets with him when answering this particular question. And I'll tell you this, I interviewed Andrew Wilson and I asked him the same question. Now, Andrew gave me a little bit more of a nuanced answer to this. Obviously, the quick thing to say is, yes, of course, logically, this is first-degree murder, but this is what he had to say.
Well, murder requires intent.
Right.
And so I want you to try to think of this from two prisms, because the easy answer is to say yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But think of it from the opposite side of the coin. Assume for a second you were with or somebody is really low IQ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they go into like their dad's bedroom with a knife and they stab him and he dies. Okay. And when the cops get there and they're like, no, he's going to wake up soon. Right. They clearly don't understand that they have murdered somebody. Right.
Yeah.
Would you give them the same penalty that you would give a normal murderer? Yeah.
Not first degree, I don't think, but definitely you would give a penalty out. Yeah.
You would give some kind of penalty, but
yeah.
would you wouldn't necessarily give them a first degree murder charge, right?
Not first degree, no.
Yeah. So if you make this a law inside of society for 50 plus years,
Mm-hmm.
that these women are allowed to do this kind of at their whim, and they're told over and over and over that this is not murder, that they're not doing anything wrong. This is just a clump of cells, this type of thing. Then I think you do have to take the indoctrination into account, because the intent isn't necessarily there. Do I think that there should be a penalty? It's like, for instance, if we outlawed it and said, no, this is murder, and then they violated it, yeah, you throw them in prison forever.
Right.
But I think to retroactively, for instance, go back and try to enforce that would be kind of a ghoulish nightmare. As in this particular case, society has reinforced that that is not the case. So it's kind of complex on that front. It's not such an easy answer.
So yeah, Andrew Wilson did answer the questions to the degree where if it's completely outlawed, then yes, put them in jail because they know that this is absolute murder. It goes back to if it's a very mentally ill or slow individual that committed murder but doesn't understand what they did, therefore you'd give a punishment, perhaps not first degree murder, but there would be a punishment. Now, this is a straight up answer that is consistent with what we look at as murder, first degree, second degree, third degree. I mean, you name it. At least there's a punishment. But these days, I will give you an example that these days, these Democrats will go absolutely insane if you even think about punishing the woman in any type of way, especially when it comes to the law.
The overturning of Roe v. Wade didn't end the battle over abortion access. It just ignited another fierce round of fighting. And the issue remains front and center as the country heads into the 2024 elections. At the state level, the fight is the grittiest. Is it murder?
Absolutely.
This is Jason Storms, director of Operation Save America, who publicly advocates extreme positions on a number of issues.
Revolution 2.0 going on right here.
Now remember, the left thinks of this as an extreme position. It's very extreme to punish women with the law who murder their babies.
So we're talking about the very real possible reality that we have to take up arms against our own tyrannical government, and are we prepared to do it and win?
With OSA, he travels around the country to lobby for legislation that could put women in jail, or worse, for getting an abortion.
You are intentionally killing a human being. That is the definition of murder.
Should that person be charged and convicted for murder?
Absolutely.
Prison for life?
Well, whatever the laws are for killing an innocent person, yeah.
In some places, that's the death penalty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in some cases, that's the death penalty. And she's right about that. Michael Knowles even said, let's put this man to the electric chair. I don't think it's a controversial thing to say that if you believe this is murder, you know, and these women don't think of it that way. Actually, some women actually will admit they knew that they were murdering a baby, but did it anyways, because at the same time, society tells them it's okay to do so. And they're able to pull the trigger because they know they're not going to get punished. I know this is a pretty controversial, more nuanced debate on things, but it is something to think about. Tell me your thoughts down below. Do you believe women should be punished in any type of metric for abortion? Do you believe that it's just a clump of cells? Do you believe maybe after the third trimester, then they should be punished? Whatever your thoughts are, comment down below. Let me know. And I've been your host, Jake Varr. I'll catch you guys on the next Project VO Pod. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.